All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Under the Fatherhood podcast with Chris and Blair. This is our technically third episode, but we're going to call it episode number 2. And Blair's going to explain to you what this episode is going to be about.
All right. So I know in the end of last episode, we said we were going to do our first comic review of the Three Jokers. Well, psych, we're not going to do that. Coming off of the great conversation we had about Superman and Man of Steel on the last episode, we, by chance caught the first episode of Superman and Lois, and we want to kind of continue that conversation because Chris came to me and he said, watching that first episode, it kind of ties into the conversation we were having about Man of Steel on his end. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. We're also going to talk about the new Superman reboot that's been reported that WB is now pursuing with J.J. Abrams and Takashi, whatever his name is, Coates. It's something that Chris and I thought that we needed to talk about because it was something that, upset us to our core, and it doesn't upset us, for the reason that you're thinking. Not because they're going to, try to do a black Superman. There's a lot of other things. So we're going to get into that. Today, too, we might discuss the Mother Box trailer that was dropped by Snyder if we get to it. If we don't, then we'll do it on another episode. But I'm going to let Chris start it off on how he felt about the first episode of Superman and Lois. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so, I started watching this version of Superman on Supergirl and the crossovers on the CW TV shows. I caught the first little bit of that, and then I saw the big crossover events. I really liked him, from the get-go. I like him as an actor. I think that he brings a little bit more of a believable Superman to TV. Brandon Ruth, who played Kingdom Come Superman in the crossover events, and he also played Superman and Superman Returns. He never had it for me. He, by all accounts, should be a great Superman. He looks the part. Everyone thought he was going to be the next Christopher Reeves, and I think that's what Superman Returns went for, is a Christopher Reeves-esque Superman, and it just didn't work. But I think that everything that he is, as Superman, I think that this new Superman, really actually hits the nail on the head. The guy can play wholesome. He can play emotional. He can play angry. He can, and he conveyed all of that in this first episode. I thought that, me personally, I thought that, right from the get-go in the, the almost pajama-looking suit when he saves that kid from the school bus, that's Superman, man. I mean, just fresh out of, high school, going to Metropolis, saving people in something his mom made him. That is as wholesome as you can get. And I loved every second of it. I know Blair's over there laughing because of the conversation that we had last week, but man, that is Superman. And then, the scene where he goes into the nuclear reactor and he lets that heat vision off for the first time, it reminded me of Man of Steel. That scene, everything that they did with the visuals and the facial expressions, the heat vision, everything like that, it reminded me of something Snyder would do. And I appreciate it.
So, Chris, are you admitting that Snyder's interpretation of Superman influenced this Superman and made it better?
I will say that I think that they took pieces from a lot of different Supermen. And I would say that the piece that they took from Snyder, the action standpoint, I would agree that it made it better. Yes, I will agree with that. I think that Snyder has the fighting and the action of Superman down to a T. He has done it better than anyone else. I will wholeheartedly admit that.
Well, I'm glad to finally get you to admit that something about Man of Steel is good. But yeah, I had no plans on watching Superman and Lois. I had no plans on figuring it out, especially after CW's track record with after the first season of Supergirl, what they did to the Flash, what they did to Arrow, and that abomination that is Batwoman that they keep throwing out every daggone week.
And just throw a new actor at it. Just the first season didn't stick. Let's throw a new actress.
I'll just say one thing about it. She doesn't even look good in the cow. Her face does not look good in the cow.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say about it. But yeah, I had no intentions of checking it out, but I saw some comments online that said, you know, it was actually really good. And I didn't dislike the actor's portrayal of Superman in the multiverse. I thought that he was too skinny for the suit. I thought he was too skinny for the role. I didn't think that he could pull off a believable Superman as I know him in the comics, like Henry could. So I was a little skeptical going into it, but man, in the first 5 minutes, I was sucked in. You know, the suit was a little weird looking. You could tell it was a little padded, a little buffed up. And I think that DC had the same problem with Zachary Levi. You cannot fake the width of a man's neck.
Yeah.
If his neck, believe me, if you look at somebody who's built, you can tell if they're built under their clothes by the width of their neck and their shoulders. And you can't have that skinny of a neck going down into these broad shoulders on the suit. It just doesn't work. So yeah, that was a little off-putting, but from what I hear, HBO Max is producing the series.
Mm-hmm.
So the effects were good. The effects were good for television. That also brought me into it a little more because if the effects were off and they looked a little hokey or a little cheap, it would have definitely taken me out of it. But not only was I sucked in because of the nuclear reactor scene where he uses his heat vision and then he uses his freeze breath,
mm-hmm.
and then he's carrying this block of ice down in the nuclear reactor and it's melting, and it's just a really heroic, cool shot.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed the interaction that Superman had after he saved the reactor with the people around him. You know, the show starts off, you know, goes a little bit through his origin, it kind of touches on it, but the show really kicks off at that new nuclear reactor part. Superman's been around for a while. People know him, people trust him, and you can see that interaction with the people that are around the security people, law enforcement personnel, and with General Lane, you know, who's Lois Lane's father. You know, Lois and Superman Lois and Clark, excuse me, have been married for some time. They have 2 teenage sons who are about to go into high school. They're about to be freshmen in high school. So General Lane knows all about Superman. He knows about Clark. They've had many interactions together, and you can see that in the way they bounce off of each other. I really like the chemistry between those 2 actors in that scene. But you know, just going off, you know, the rest of the show, Lois Lane. When I saw her at first, I was like, "Nah, I don't see it." But as she began to act and began being more scenes, I was like, okay, you know, I can believe that this is Lois Lane, you know, hard-nosed reporter. And you have to remember, like the Lois Lane that we see in the comics, she doesn't age, obviously, because she's being drawn.
Yeah.
So she's being drawn to the perfect proportions, and, you know, she doesn't look old or anything like that. But this woman has 2 14, 15-year-old sons. So, you know, she's going to age a little bit. She's probably in her mid 40s, you know, depending on when she had them. So she looks right for that part. And the chemistry, the thing I enjoyed the most about the show that I didn't think that I would enjoy was him being Clark with his family. and the interaction that he has with his sons, and just he's Superman. He has all of the strength. You know, he just saved a nuclear reactor with his heat vision and his freeze breath, right? People adore him, people love him. But when he takes that suit off and put those glasses on, he still can't get through to one of his sons. No matter how, you know, how strong he is, how fast he is, no matter how many powers he has, he still can't get through to one of his sons. And that is really a cool dynamic that they have in the show right now. That, you know, despite this man who has everything that you could ever want, he still goes through the same trials, ups and downs, peaks and valleys of being a father. And, you know, going along with the theme of this podcast, that, you know, that really struck home with me, especially I'm about to have my own son literally any minute now.
So can I just
Jump
get
in. I'm
you?
starting to ramble. Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, can I just get you to admit then that the thing that you liked most about the TV show was actually the Clark Kent, you
Mm-mm.
know, the embodiment of the family man and the humbleness and his alter ego, or
Listen,
who I think is his actual who he actually is.
okay, hold on. I won't admit that I enjoy Boy Scout Superman, but I will admit I enjoy Fatherhood Superman. I
I'm gonna
think
take it as a win. I'm
I
taking it as a win.
I think I look, that's about all you're gonna get, so you better take it.
No, I agree. I think that the best part about the show is, and I've always said this, I think the best parts about any time I've ever seen Superman is his human nature.
Mhm.
That's the best part about Superman. Superman has all the power in the world. He can move entire worlds, with the flick of a wrist. But like you said, can't get through to his own son, and
Exactly.
can't figure out how to get home on time for dinner. And I mean, those are the things that are great. I mean, that's the kind of things that we can relate to as fathers, or soon to be fathers. um, and we had in the comments of our last video, we had a good conversation with someone, and I wanted to kind of piggyback off that a little bit, because I think that what we see in this is Superman, what he learned from his parents. So, what he is trying to instill in his children is what he learned from his parents. And moving to Metropolis, and moving to the bigger city, and being Superman, it doesn't take him away from his roots, because it was what he was raised. And um, I think that's the most important thing that we could take away from Superman, is that it doesn't matter what you do for a job, it doesn't matter what you do for a living, it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter what you do. It matters what you believe in, and it matters how you were raised. I think that that's something we can take to heart.
Absolutely. And it's not that I wasn't listening to Chris. The reason I was looking down is I wanted to find the name of the guy who commented, and his name was Drew Burrows. So Drew Burrows, we thank you for that conversation that we had. It was a really good conversation. Chris and I both appreciate you watching and uh, being present in the conversation. So it's something that we're looking to continue. So thank you again. But yeah, the we're not going to go through a whole review of the episode, because whenever I go and watch a review, I feel like, okay, well, I really don't need to go watch the show then. I want people to support the show,
Yeah.
not only because it's a great show and it's very, very well written, very well paced, and very well acted, but because the thing that to me is destroying comics in the comic industry, they fought to eradicate from this show. So if nobody knows the story, apparently there was a writer or producer, forgive me if I, mess that up, a writer or producer, who wanted to adopt Clark's parents, Mom and Paul Kent. They wanted them to be ethnic. And it just would have it just would have not served a purpose. And it would have turned people off.
Mhm.
They would have seen it as they're Batwomaning the show. And it really, really would have turned people off. And it would have served no purpose. It just would have been just throw it in there to throw it in there. And it's okay if it serves a purpose and it moves the story along and you can explain it. If you can't explain it, then what's the point? So
I agree, and I
yeah.
think that that's a perfect segue to one thing I do want to say is I really love when shows do the little Easter eggs for comic book fans. And I was a huge fan of their one son being named Jonathan. Taking that straight from the comics. I love when they do stuff like that. I love how Lana was in the show. I'm a big fan of, without trying to spoil anything for anyone, when the person he was fighting at the end took that helmet off and the computer called him a certain name, it really reminded me of DC Universe Online. I don't know about you. So I love when shows and movies, I love when they do that. But going back to your original point, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know that, we've known each other for now going on, 13 years?
12 years.
12 years. Yeah, 2009. We met in 2009. So going on 12 years, we've known each other, have been good friends ever since. You were in my wedding. And I know we've had multiple conversations about these kind of topics. And I think these conversations need to happen. Just because it's a difficult conversation, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to happen. I think that means that it has to happen even more. And I love the point that you made about serving a point. I think that, what our second topic that we wanted to talk about was the supposed Superman, what they want to do. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. The audio went weird for a minute there. But
yeah, sorry about that, guys. The supposed reboot of Superman, and they are looking to go with an African American actor.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that the rumor is that they're going to go with Calvin Ellis from, I believe it's Earth 2's Superman is Calvin Ellis. Val Zod is 23, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Calvin Ellis, he is the Superman on his planet. He is black, and he's the president, in his version of Metropolis or
yes.
Here's my problem with it. My problem, first and foremost, is the person they got to write it. Takeshi Coates, Takeshi, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He is exactly what's wrong with this in the entertainment industry, in the comic industry. He is a race baiter. He is a woke, liberal, white hater. He is a black privilege pusher. He is the Al Sharpton type, where he sows discord for his own financial gain. In a book that he wrote, he said disparaging things about the first responders that risked their lives and rushed into the Twin Towers and other parts of the country on 9/11. And I don't care if Henry Cavill was in this movie. I'm not watching it if he's
Yep.
writing. Anything that this man is going to benefit from, I'm not putting my money into it, because coming from a law enforcement background, coming from a military background, law enforcement, military family, Chris was in the Navy. I'm not going to sit back and let somebody disrespect first responders and then go watch their movie when I know the type of person that he is, and the type of person who's going to call white America a syndicate, in that first responders weren't human to him, but they were a force, a nameless force that could at any moment, without justification, wreck his body or something like that. And I'm just not going to stand for it. I'm not going to support it. And shame on DC for even thinking about hiring this guy. You know what the movie's going to be. And I told Chris this, I don't even think that they're going to use Calvin Ellis. I think that they're going to just race swap Clark Kent, because it's about power. It's about, do we have the power to make a white character black, instead of, do we have the ability to write a good story about a black character?
And I think that is what makes me so mad about everything that's going on there, is because there are so many compelling stories that can be made about Black superheroes. One of my favorite superheroes, and we've talked about this multiple times, my favorite Green Lantern is John Stewart. John Stewart. And the fact he's a military man, everything about him, it's a compelling story. You don't need to just all of a sudden make an existing white character or an existing Asian or whatever type of character. You don't need to change their race to make a compelling story. Vixen, we talked about her. One of the, in my opinion, one of the coolest powers that you could possibly have as a superhero, she has, and she's always just kind of a background character in a TV show or or a comic book or anything like that. There are so many compelling characters and stories that DC could pull from, and I feel like a lot of times, instead of going that route, you just try to go the easier route, and you just take a character that people already are very familiar with and already very intertwined with already, and then you just race swap. And it actually, in my opinion, I think it lessens the rest of the characters in the comics, because to me, they're saying, well, this character's not good enough for us to write a story about. And I think that's just wrong.
Yeah. And it hurts stories, because when you race swap a character, now all of a sudden you're betting on the fact that this character that was once this race is now a different race. You're just counting on that new race crowd to support your project. And the people who support, the things that those people support, you're hoping that crowd pushes your project forward and makes it successful. I feel like people who do those things, that race swap and gender swap and these things, don't feel like they need to write compelling stories. It's kind of used as a crutch. And like you said, John Stewart. Everybody loves John Stewart.
Yes.
How many years have the DC fandom been clamoring, get John Stewart in a movie? We love him. He is my favorite Green Lantern.
Yep.
When I grew up watching Justice League Unlimited, he was the Green Lantern.
Yes.
And I loved that. And I loved that show. I love his stories. He's an established Black character. Why not make compelling stories with him in it? I just don't understand why they're not highlighting established characters already. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know if it's because John Stewart is, I'm not trying my hardest not to get too political here.
Yeah.
Follows a certain narrative to where he, is a certain way, and they don't want to portray those types of people that certain way, or they just feel the need that it's all about power. Like I said before, the power to change a white character historically to change him black or Asian or anything like that. And it like you said, it cheapens it. It
Mm-hmm.
makes it so that you're not writing compelling stories about these characters anymore. Like I said in the first two videos, and I'll say it again because we're talking about it. Representation is not important. What's important is developing stories that people can relate to, that these characters have to go through in a way that the people reading the stories can relate to the way the character reacts to that situation.
Yes.
Heroes were not made to look like me and you. Heroes were not made for us to relate to them on a physical level or even a lifestyle level. They were made so that people who read them can aspire to be like that. You can
Mm-hmm.
aspire to be as, heroic as Superman, and you can aspire to be as fierce as Wonder Woman or as smart as Batman. So when you create stories that they go through real world situations like the loss of a loved one, loss of your family, and the way that they react and the way that they, use their heroicism for good in those situations, no matter what the odds are against them, that's the relatable part about comics. That's what people love about comics. They don't love that there's 40 stories about black superheroes. Nobody cares about that. What I care about, it could be 40 stories about 40 Asian superheroes. But if those stories are awesome and I can't put the book down, I'm gonna buy them.
Yes.
And that's the frustrating thing to me, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just it feels like a cheap trick. To me, it feels like, with everything going on right now, with all the conversations about race and racial injustice and everything that's going on, it feels like a cheap cash grab. I'm just going to call it like I see it. Uh, I I never, since before when they were talking about, possibly having Michael B. Jordan, play Superman. I was never a fan of it. Um, they already have a Superman. This is,
Great one too.
getting away from the racial aspect of it. This is the reason why, I can't get behind DC movies as much as I would love to, because you had four movies now, of a connected universe, and then now all of a sudden you want to start rebooting. It just, to me, it's why, and we both have our thoughts on Marvel movies. We like some, dislike others, but the fact that for the last 10 plus years we've had a connected universe in Marvel, I think that's something that DC should, they should aspire to do. DC, in my opinion, has the more compelling characters, and I think that if they can get 5 or 6 movies together in a row, I think that all of a sudden you're going to start seeing numbers that blow Marvels out of the water. But if they can't do it because they're shooting themselves in the foot, I mean, anytime that you turn on the TV, all you see is new actors and new movies, because DC can't hold on to an actor to save their lives. I mean, my gosh, we've had how many Batmans in the last 10 years? How many Supermans in the last 10, 15 years? It's sad, because these are the characters we want to see on the screen. These are the characters that we want to see fighting alongside each other. And we can't get a good movie with them together. I mean, my gosh.
You're exactly right. I don't understand. I thought that a new leaf was turning over in DC when, well, when the old guard was kicked out, right? And they brought the new guard in. I thought that, things are going to start to get better. Aquaman was a success. It was great. You know, Shazam was good. You know, and they started stringing together successful movies. I love every single DC movie. That's just me, right? I know some people don't like Batman versus Superman. Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition, in my opinion, is the second best comic book movie ever made, behind Man of Steel. But anyway, you're exactly right. DC has the superhero, Superman.
Yep.
And the second, the superhero, Batman. Batman and Superman, two of the two most iconic superheroes in the world.
The most popular woman superhero in the world, Wonder Woman. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah. Batman's Rogues Gallery, the most famous villains in all of comicdom.
Batman in general, I mean, we talked about this multiple times, not to get off topic, but you brought it up. The Bat family and just everything about Batman is the most compelling out of any story. I mean, you can make an entire 10 years of movies and TV shows just about Batman and Bat family characters. I mean, you go through the Robins alone and you have 5 years of movies that you can go to. I need an Under the Red Hood movie. I want to see Batman on his knees holding Jason Todd. I want that.
And like we said, there is a web of stories that they could just pluck from, and they really do have just gold sitting at their feet. And I don't understand why we're getting Birds of Prey movies and that aren't even the Birds of Prey.
No.
And we're getting Superman Reboot when everybody just wants to see Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're reporting it that Henry Cavill was being replaced because he didn't want a cameo in Shazam because you wouldn't give him the money that he wanted. Give him whatever he wants to stay. You have to build a culture. You have to build this universe. Now, Marvel did it, yeah. And, people thought that DC was trying to catch up to Marvel with, just throwing these movies out and trying to make them like Marvel. DC could have sat back, took their time to go through these movies. Like you said, the Bat family. You can create a whole universe just off the Bat family. You can create movies, intertwine these characters because they own every single one of the characters in the DC universe. They can do whatever they want. They have the best stories. They have these other worlds, Atlantis and Krypton and Star City, Coast City, all of these grand places that these things can take place in. And no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to make Stargirl. We're going to make another show about Gotham PD. They have a gold mine sitting there with HBO Max. HBO Max is just waiting to be made into its own universe. That Zack Snyder and the minds behind that can just create their own universe. You can create the stories of the Justice League and feature films on HBO Max, but you can do their auxiliary characters, their sidekicks in TV shows.
Yep.
And they can then appear in the movies that the Justice League characters are in. Because more than likely, you wouldn't get Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill to star in a show, right? No. So you do movies about them, but you can do a show about Wonder Girl. You can do a show about Superboy.
Titans.
Exactly. Titans. You can do all of these things. And I just don't understand who's sitting there and that has creative control that's shooting down these ideas. And to get J.J. Abrams to direct it, the man who gave you Luke Skywalker crying on an island, drinking some kind of weird animal's breast milk. I just don't understand it. And
Blair just cut off, out of all the people that could possibly subscribe, he just cut off half the population that are Star Wars fans in one
They will agree with me. They will agree with me on that because the Luke Skywalker they got in Mandalorian, the Grandmaster Luke who was ripping through robots and crushing things with his hand, that's the Luke Skywalker they wanted, not the weird, depressed emo one that J.J. Abrams gave him off of that new trilogy. So I'm a DC fan in my heart.
Yeah, I know.
You know, Wolfpack for life. All those NWO fans will get that one. But I love these characters. I love, and it just makes me mad, the types of things that they could be doing. And, I will actually sit, I don't know, well, Chris will probably support me on this. I actually just sit sometimes in my car or I'm driving with the music off and think in my head what I would do with the universe, that the movie universe, the cinematic universe. Chris and I have had conversations about this.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, I really want to get your opinion on why you think that a Man of Steel 2 movie, even though you weren't so great, you weren't so hot on the first one, why you would want a Man of Steel 2 movie instead of a reboot of Superman?
I think that I don't even have to go off of, how good the first one was or anything like that. I want a Man of Steel 2 movie because it means that we are going further into this actual lore that was started in the first movie instead of having to restart with a new character and a new origin, because that's always the first movie. It's always going to be an origin story. We've seen Superman's origin 5 times over the last 10 years. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And I think that we need to just give these characters a chance. I understand that it comes down to money and everything like that, but guess what? After I saw that they were thinking about making a reboot, I saw that Marvel was trying to get Henry Cavill to come and be Captain Britain. So I know that if Henry Cavill writes down a number, that Marvel and Disney are going to throw that bundle of cash at him, because it means, guess what? You're not going to have Henry Cavill as Superman. And it's just going to hurt the DC universe, and it's going to hurt their biggest competition. So if there's anyone from WB out there, anyone from DC out there, listen up, because Marvel's about to steal your dude right from behind, right from underneath your feet. So
and just on that point, and the people that the people that are behind a Henry Cavill Superman that want to see him so bad, they will go watch that Marvel movie of him Captain Britain instead of watching this other Superman movie, because this news has not been met with cheers and celebration. This news has been met with jeers and what are you thinking, WB? This news is devastating.
Yep.
Because it means, like you said, we're not moving forward. We're not moving forward with the DC universe.
Yeah.
We're just taking another step back. Another step back to then we have to do, like you said, the first movie again. And we got to do the second movie. And we got to get used to this whole other Superman, this whole other style. I know a whole nother Clark Kent. And how many times are we as DC fans just going to be, teased with this nice little carrot over here, and we finally get to the carrot, and then all of a sudden they switch it out, and it's like roast beef or something.
Yep, I agree with you, man.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
You're using the bait and switch again, and there's a lot of news coming out surrounding Snyder possibly doing a Killing Joke movie with Jared Leto and Ben Affleck that shows the Joker killing Robin, which will possibly introduce a Red Hood. Now, if that news is true, does that change your thinking on a Superman reboot? Because the Superman reboot will not be part of the HBO Max universe. That's going to be out in theaters. That is going to be like something that is with Pattinson's Batman. That might be something in that universe. So if we get that Zack Snyder movie, are you then you feel a little better about that Superman reboot and you don't care as much? Or, how does that make you feel?
It's not going to make me feel better about it. It's going to make me not think about it at all. That's what that's going to do, because I already know I'm not going to go see it. I've made my mind up. So if they do something like that on HBO Max, of course I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch, I was a huge fan of, Ben Affleck as Batman. I was a fan of a lot of the things I saw from Jared Leto as the Joker. Some of the tattoos were a little bit over the top, but, we've had that conversation before. I think that we need to see them on the screen together because, that little bit that we saw in that trailer from the new Justice League, I'm here for it. Yeah. So, without getting, too far off topic, I think this is a pretty good place to end this episode. On a high note, I think that we got a lot to look forward to from Superman and Lois. I'm excited to see what happens with the kids on that TV show.
That's Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on CW.
Yes. Yeah. A little plug there.
I
like it. We will hopefully get back to, we're going to work with the Snyderverse. We're going to work with, movies, TV shows. Ultimately we want to do comic books. Like Blair said, we're going to try to do the 3 Jokers review here, maybe next episode. Obviously this is not the most regimented and orderly podcast video in the world.
Operation we got going over here.
Nope, but we're trying our best here. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about, anything you want to continue the conversation, then get at the comments.
Yes, we enjoy reading the comment we had. So if there's anybody out there who watches the video, we saw that the views have gone up in recent days, a little faster than they were when we first put the videos out. We appreciate it. If you happen to come by this video and you only watch it for 5 minutes, leave a like or leave a comment and be like, hey, I like this part of the video or I like that part of the video. Even if you only watch the video for 5 minutes and you pull something out of it, not 5 minutes, we did our job, right?
Yep.
Because we're only trying to create conversations about topics that we don't really see discussed that much. And, from 2 guys who love comic books. So we're not really going to preview the next episode because, to be quite honest, we have a million ideas about what the next episode could be. Yep. And usually we decide what episode we're going to do 5 minutes before we actually do it.
Yep.
So, maybe we'll start doing some kind of pre-show video once we decide, on a topic, and we'll do it that way. We're also looking to start an Instagram. Chris and I are both old men. Yep. We really don't know how to work Instagram. My wife is more apt at that than I am, and I'm going to try to enlist her help to get that. So that is something that should be coming up soon, and we'll put the link in the description and stuff like that for our Instagram handle once we get that up and running. But we're excited about what we're doing, and we enjoy doing it, and we just hope that you guys enjoy watching. On that note, I'm Blair. That's Chris, and this is Under the Fatherhood podcast.
God bless.